Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Nicholas Ashbaugh. Today we're going to do something that I've never done here before, at least not with this many different decks. I'm going to do some unboxing, as you can see here. US Games was kind enough to supply all of these for free, no strings attached, just for consideration for use on the channel. So just as a thank you, I'm going to go ahead and review them and let you know what I think. They were also kind enough to send me this really cool tarot deck cover here with the Fool on it. I love it, especially since I just moved. Speaking of that, this was like impeccable timing. Many of you know that I recently had to kind of like let go of all my decks because they were damaged by water. So this is a great way to refresh my supply and hopefully see some new things. To that end, I'm going to start with the new stuff. There are a few things here that I recognize, like I use the tarot decks that are associated with these oracle cards. So let's save them for the end and let's start with some of the new things here. I think we'll start with this one. Dream Song Oracle. So let me put everything else to the side, and I have a little device here that I think will help us with opening it that won't hopefully will keep me from cutting myself here. So let's see if I can get this open and see what this is all about. All right, that worked well. First time I've seen it. I have no familiarity with the artist. I don't know what the cards look like, except what we see here on the back, and I think that that's going to be perfectly aligned with some of the nature-based cards on my deck, or on my channel rather. All right, so let me just put this to the side and let's get started. Okay, so far I have to say I really like the presentation here. Let's bring it up to the main channel. So it's called Dream Song Oracle, and I'll put links to all of these below in the description here. And this says on the back here, once upon a time, you were friends with the stars. Your neighbor was the moon. Story was your guardian, and dreams and your native language. All right, so it's very sort of whimsical already, which I like. Let's go ahead and open it up and see what it looks like. They included a sort of protector here for the deck, which I think is great. Looks like the little book that accompanies it is really nice quality, actually. In fact, it's in color. It's not a little white book. It's actually in color. And as you can see here, really beautifully laid out. Nice descriptions here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the cards themselves and see what this is like. I like the covers, and I like that for someone like me that reads reversals, you're not going to know if it's upright or reversed. So that already is a bonus. So let's see if we can carefully get this opened up. So far, so good. There's like no elegant way to take plastic off here. All right, so right off the bat, I love, like I said, the illustrations on the back. Let's take a quick glance at how all of this looks. So I think that the artwork is beautiful. The finish on this one is matte with a slight bit of shine, so it's not going to pick up too much glare, which is good. And right off the bat, I love it. This is something that I can see myself using. So let's kind of take it up to the main camera and look at some of the way that they've laid this out. So I enter the conversation. Moon, bathe in hope. Seek the truest self. I love the mask here, the unveiling. Tend to the roots of reciprocity. These images are really sort of dreamlike, and I quite like the way that it all is laid out. So first impressions are, I like it. Let me just kind of have the overhead camera here, and we can kind of go through some of these more easily. But so far, yeah, this is something that I will absolutely use in the channel. Protect the fledgling. Love that. Cherish the small things. So here's something that I like. If you watch my channel a lot, you know that I don't want really wordy oracle cards because I feel like it inhibits my ability to draw connections. What I like is imagery that I can work with and is kind of dreamlike. And I think that this really hits it in all the right places there. It's just enough detail to connect to intuition, just enough words. And if you need the book for additional sort of guidance here, I feel like they also didn't overdo that. So it looks like it's perfect. I like this. So this is definitely going into rotation. I think everything about it is nice, from the packaging to the deck protector, just to the overall layout. It's like 10 out of 10. That's great. Okay, so love the first one. Can't wait to use it on the weekly collective, possibly sooner, maybe with the next reading. Okay, let's look at this one, the New Orleans Oracle deck. And let's kind of get a little sneak peek of what it looks like here. And I'm going to try my best here to open it up. Again, my wish would be that these would be a little easier to open. Okay, there we go. Much better. I love the vivid colors, especially if you have a lot of other things going on. This is going to stand out nice. Just a very typical presentation here, what you would expect with a deck. This one was like I said, 10 out of 10. They just went overboard in the best ways. This one is great. What I like is I can already tell the card stock is pretty decent on this one, maybe a little bit more than the previous one. I like the finish on this one as well. It really helps the colors pop out. So it's not overly thick, but it's not so thin that it's going to basically get damaged in the shuffle. I really, really love the colors. Wow. This is beautiful. I can see this pairing up nicely with anything that, like if you're using a deck that is almost like one color, this is really nice on the side when you're using Oracle decks to complement it. Wow, this is gorgeous. Okay, so let's bring some of these up to the main camera since it's a little bit higher quality here. So you can see here, beautiful. It reminds me of like the original indie version of the Afro Goddess deck because I can tell that these were painted. And you get that feeling that it is more of an illustration. It's not something that was done just with like AI. Really nice. And it really captured a lot of the beauty here of New Orleans here. So we can see music, we can see food, we can see magic. Yeah, this is great, folks. I'm not going to go through every card. I'm just giving like initial thoughts on this. So far, I really, really like what I see. I also love that it's just maybe like between 1 to 5 words on it, usually up to just 3. So this is so nice. You're not going to have to worry about reading too much. You can go with the imagery and you have like a touch point with that word. So I think this, for Oracle decks, is great. It may not have all the bells and whistles of the presentation here. The simplicity is what's winning me over here. Bright colors, really easy to interpret images, like almost more iconographic. So like you've got it here. This reminds me of the Ace of Cups. So the word abundance makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this is perfect. So we have another winner here that we're going to definitely put to great use in the weekly and monthly videos. Also, how much do we love the fleur-de-lis here, and then also the beautiful butterfly. The only thing that could be challenging, like I said, for those of you that read with reversals, is you're going to know it's reversed. But I usually pull from the middle, so I can't tell. That's one of my techniques. That way you're not going to be influenced by the front of it. So that's not going to bother me too much. But if you look down when you're shuffling, you're going to know. Okay, I didn't mean to pull this one next, but we did, so we're going to go with that. This one is based on one of my favorites that I use all the time, Mystical Moments, which is a really great tarot deck to use. Every time I use it, I get compliments on it, so I'm assuming that this is going to be no different. That's better. Let's just zoom into what I'm looking at. Gosh, it just looks like you're in the middle of someone's dream here. So gorgeous. Okay. These are a little bit smaller than the traditional deck size, and I think that's good because the Mystical Moments deck it tends to be on the larger side anyway, so this is going to be easier for those of you with smaller hands to shuffle with. I also think it's a little less glossy than the traditional Mystical Moments deck, and that actually could also be an advantage. So it's good that I zoomed in. It's a lot easier to see stuff here. So if you like the original tarot of Mystical Moments, you're going to love this. They're not complete repeats. These are different, but in the same family. Again, hitting those high points of Oracle cards. So we just have simple words and a really bold image, and it's a little bit more zoomed in. There's not as much going on. So it feels to me like you can just really easily connect with it. Wow. Yeah, overall, because I like mystical moments so far, or so much, this might be one of my favorites. I can immediately see me using it. Look at how vivid the colors are on this. I mean, much in the same way that this one just kind of pulled you right in, the New Orleans deck, I think that this is right up there with that. You're not going to get confused or lost in this illustration. So some of these were a little bit, there's a lot more going on here. So if I had to pick a strength on this one, it's even more sort of simplistic and focused. And I think that's probably why they made a decision to go smaller with the size of the cards. I think it was smart. It looks really, really good. Yep. This is a 10 out of 10. I love it. Again, the only sort of thing that I'm noticing with some of the Oracle decks is they tend to be a little bit less laminated than some of the tarot decks, but I tend to be careful in my shuffles. So when I'm shuffling, I kind of go on the side and I don't overly do it, and it feels to me like it shuffles nicely. Okay? So beautiful edition. So far, I'm loving everything. If you guys want, maybe at the end, I'll make sure that I go through all of these if you want to see all of the pictures, but I'm just kind of going in the flow. We've got a lot to cover today, so now that I've got it all set up, it'll be easier for future unboxings if we decide to do this. So we'll move next with the Afro Goddess deck. And as many of you know, this has been one of my favorites. I actually purchased it back when it was an independent deck. Now it's mainstream, and I still like the mainstream one, but the original one came on had black backing and was a little bit bigger. This is more in alignment with the mainstream one that they've just come out with, which I love too. Okay, let's open this up and see. Even though that this is Lenormand, I actually use it as regular Oracle too, just because the images work nicely. So I feel like anybody can read this even if you don't work with the system. All right, I'm gonna need to, there we go. So just like we were looking at here, if you're a fan of the Afro Goddess Tarot, I highly recommend looking at that. This is wonderfully in that same universe. You can already see bright, vivid, inviting. Again, I feel like we're getting better and better with each one that I pull, and it's accidental because I didn't know what they were going to look like on the inside. But I really like how zoomed in we are, how each one of these is basically hand-painted too, and it's just beautiful. It is, like most of these, they're not true matte, but they're not gloss. They're somewhere in the middle. And I think that's good because if you have studio lighting like I do, you're still going to be able to see it and you're not going to get a glare. Glossy doesn't tend to work very well in studio lighting. It's better to have semi-gloss or semi-matte, however you want to phrase it. So this is gorgeous, guys. I think that this is a win. I think I was using a different version, the indie one. So this is the mass-produced version. And I actually kind of like it better because of what I just mentioned. I can pull it up and you can see I have bright lights, but it's not overdoing it. So I think it's great. Actually, this is one that I don't even remember seeing before. So I remember this one. I love that all the elements are on there. So I feel like there's a lot of 10 out of 10s, but this is great. So far, all of the Oracle decks I can see myself using and will be using in all the various types of videos that I do. All right, so I'm just gonna make a little bit of room here. Let's turn the camera down and let's see. One of the newer ones here. I have no idea what this looks like. When Women Had Wings. I believe that this is a brand new release. So let's see what it looks like. So you can decide if it's something you like. I think this is such a nice touch to have some sort of protection, just so that if you have it laying on the table, you don't have to worry about it. This reminds me a lot of the Dream Song Oracle with all of the perks in it. Really, when I say really, it's very high quality, this book. You get the full color print. You get just enough of what you're looking at here. It looks great, folks. Okay, So this is more than a little white book. This is a really nice big color book. And when I say that, the one that's included with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is usually called that just because it's small and it's printed in black and white. Okay, so this is a regular tarot deck, not an oracle, but wow, we can already see that this is radical reinterpretation going on here. So for this one, since it is a tarot deck, I'll try my best to kind of quickly go through it and give some high-level comments. This is not a full review, so if you want me to go deeper into any of these, I can always do that in a future video. So, interesting here, we don't have the dog in this. It is just sort of like this idea of something new. We've got a little bit of the Fool's movement here, but it's definitely, I wouldn't say this is not for beginners because we're not in a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Okay. Magician looks great. High Priestess, love it. Wow, this is a really cool Emperor card. This is also very zoomed in. I like, you know what this reminds me of a little bit is, gosh, there's another illustrator that does like rich, sort of like photo retouched versions. I'll think of it in a minute here. But this reminds me of his style. Love the lovers. I love that we have this angelic energy here. This is a really cool strength card because we don't see the struggle of domination, subjugation. We see cooperation. I'm a big fan of a retelling. You need to know the original, but it's cool to see when it deviates like this. The major arcana can tell you a lot about how everything's going to look. So far, I think it's great. It's close enough to Rider-Waite-Smith that it feels like anybody that has some knowledge of that can read it. And then the changes that they decided to make feel like they work for me. Again, I'm not going to do every single card. I like that we see someone from behind the mask. I'm just kind of getting a vibe for the overall look and feel. Love the tower. Star is cool. I think they kept the core elements. Certain cards like this, you know, I sometimes miss it when you don't have the dog and the wolf. Or the sort of black and white imagery. There's some things here that might be a little bit different, but what I do like is that it's just beautiful to look at. So I think for those of you like me that read for others that want something refreshing and different, this is nice. But if you're looking for an absolute tried and true Rider-Waite-Smith derivative deck, it's definitely taking some liberties. Now this is a gorgeous Ace of Wands. Two of Wands looks great. Three of Wands is what I'm talking about here. We're not looking at the sort of like ships coming in, but it is very sort of celestial, and I like that. So overall, most of these fit, and I like that on the pips, basically on the minor arcana, they went ahead and illustrated it. There are some decks that do not illustrate the sort of the minor arcana. And sometimes when you get some of the movie-themed ones, they don't do that. So props to the team that decided to illustrate this. And I think they did a great job. So like I said, oh, that's very interesting. I'm on the fence sometimes when we go photorealistic like this because it can almost take you out of it because it might look like someone that you know, or you may have certain, you know, sort of reactions to different faces and different eye types and all of that. But overall, it's a stunning King of Wands. Let's just keep going through this. I'm just going to mention if anything really sticks out. I actually really do like that they showed the sword underneath. So some of these are absolute Rider-Waite-Smith derivative. Other ones, they chose to go in their own direction like this. Normal Five of Swords, you would see someone else in the picture, but they didn't do that on this. Six of Swords is great. Seven of Swords is interesting. Again, it's kind of like she's in front of the tower and taking advantage of a situation, so I think it works. Ten of Swords is beautiful, actually, in this one, because we see someone almost, you know, on the other side here after this all kind of came through. So yeah, I'm on the fence. I need to work with this a little bit. It's very interesting that they decided to choose like photorealistic images for the court cards. I mean, I guess they're throughout, but you really are zoomed in when you go into the king and queen cards quite a bit. I like the choice here for some of the illustrations. They're different. I mean, the water themes and all of that. But Oh, that's interesting. The Ace of Pentacles is really cool. Let's see what they did for the King and Queen of Pentacles. I mean, interesting choices. I would like to see maybe just a little bit more of the background on some of these, like where the King and the Queens are, because there are certain elements in those cards that really, you know, sort of help me out as a reader. Like, for instance, in Pentacles, usually you see a lot of overgrowth. In Wands, you would see maybe not as much in the background, but in the foreground, there's a lot of things going on. So like they're in a desert, but she's holding a sunflower. And on the King of Wands, you would see the geckos and lizards and things like that call to your attention. So maybe a little bit more of that. But overall, I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, some of these cards are really, I would imagine the King of Swords looking fearsome like that. So, you know, they did a good job. So I like it. I think it's not for beginners. That would be my overall message here. I like the angelic sort of energy that's going on here. And again, I think that this deck is just amazing. So this is not going to be a full review because I'd like to look through the deck and see what they have to say. And I'd like to use this a little bit. So again, for some of these, if you want me to revisit, I will let you know. Also, by the way, can we just celebrate the beautiful gilding that they did on this one? It's this, let me get closer here, kind of like iridescent purple. There we go. I think this will be really fun to use in my daily readings because it's different enough. You know, when I read the same card time and again, it's really nice to sometimes have something that's wildly different. So this definitely has a place in that sort of collection. And this is a nice sort of like summary of what we were looking at. I think this is gorgeous. Let's read what it says on the back. It says, "You may not be able to see them or touch them. You may have lost your memory of them, but you do indeed have wings." So this is about liberation on some levels here. This is very, very cool. I love I really love the sort of treatment here that they gave, the packaging, the addition of this. Like, they spared no expense when it comes to overall presentation. And again, I don't even know if the camera does it justice. You can really see it nicely here. But beautiful gilding on it. And again, I think that it's a great card for like a single card pull or a 3-card pull. When you just want to have something different enough. So I think it's a yes. I can't wait to kind of put this to use as well. I love the color. Good choice. I don't think I have any deck that uses this majestic purple. Very spiritual choice too. This is a protective color. Good choice for a deck. All right, why don't we move on here to the Curious Travels Tarot deck and a little preview here. Very sort of sketched out version here. So we're moving from photorealistic to something that is definitely more hand-drawn. So let's go ahead and open this up and see what it looks like. And I'm just going to read the first sentence here. "Bring your inquisitive mind and your sense of whimsy as you embark on your tarot adventure. For there is no journey to be had without a curious traveler. Composed of charming watercolor illustrations, Curious Travels Tarot deck shares precious tales of wonder, love, disappointment, and new beginnings." Okay, let's take a look at this. I like it. Watercolor, that's cool. I don't think I have many decks, maybe 1 or 2 that have watercolors, so this is a nice addition. I really love the imagery on this. Kind of harkens back to childhood, right? Great, great card stock on this as well. Just the book here. I feel like there's just enough text and just enough description of each one. Again, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but so far I like this. I think that they did a great job in presentation. This is also really helpful when you're storing your decks to have that little string in here. I like that. Not everybody does that, but it helps you pull them out. All right, so let's look at these cards. Probably the most unique of the ones that we've looked at so far because, like I said, it's more of a painted or illustrated approach. Let's see if we can get this off. There we go. Okay, so wow. So first impressions, what I do like is their use of negative space. They didn't feel like they needed to fill everything out, all the corners on the card. And that pulls you to, and then the use of spot color. So lots and lots of space and breathing room, and then and each of these there's like one big color blotch that kind of brings you in. So definitely good illustration here. Interesting choice for the Emperor. Really interesting choice for the Hierophant. I do like the owl. It actually fits in nicely with wisdom, right? Lovers. I really appreciate the, there's so much that comes to me when I look at this, like overcoming obstacles, because I think of Ganesha. You think of intelligence. So the choice, I love animals. So for anybody that reads with nature totems or animal totems, I think you're immediately going to have an affinity for this. Gosh, what a gorgeous, that was, I think that was the cover of this deck, wasn't it? Yeah, so beautiful, beautiful choice there for strength. And look at this as a sort of a flip on it. So we have the lion bigger than life, and then we have the human in the lion's paws, but it's all beautiful, it's all peaceful. As you know, I'm a kind of sucker for that. I love it when there's a reinterpreted card there. Hermit, oh, love it. I always mention that the Hermit holds the lantern. Here we can actually see the Hermit integrating it, and there's a little bit, it's almost like a little bit of foil on that, so it almost shines. Loving these sort of Egyptian themes here on the Wheel of Fortune. Justice, showing the balancing act. Okay, so I'm doing a mini review on this one because I'm drawn to. Love the Death card. This looks great too. Okay, this is a win. Surprisingly, because there's not a lot going on. It's just enough. Love the Star, yes. This is great. Yeah, I'm like pleasantly surprised. You never know what you're going to resonate with. I like it because I can't wait to put this in a spread, because I feel like these symbols are just going to jump off the page. Look at this for Judgment. Wow. Okay, so this is really interesting, how we're looking at the integration of the wands here. Okay, so what I love is they did put the numbers. Rather than Roman numerals, it's a quicker read to have the Arabic numerals at the bottom. So you don't have to do math in your head if you're not familiar with it. A little bit more friendly for people that don't read cards all the time. And I like that let's look at what they've chosen here. So wands is very common sense. Cups, they've chosen a cup symbol. Let's see. Swords, good. It's not going to be ambiguous. You can see that there's, what is that, the hilt on the sword, and we have leaves on the wand, so that's going to be easy, and pentacles. So they chose symbols that I can look at and know, even though they didn't say swords. I like that they didn't rename the suit. Sometimes people get creative, and I'm like, don't get creative. Just call it what it is so that we get creative in the illustrations. Don't rename a suit that we all love and know. This is great, folks. And there is a little bit of, let's pull it up to the main camera here. So you can see there's a little bit of foil or reflecting energy here, but it's not energy, material, but it's not overwhelming. What a cool Four of Wands, by the way, because what we're seeing in this one is the sort of symbiosis, the symbiotic relationship between the bees and the flowers. So they're creating that, there's like 3 flowers. It would have been kind of perfect if there was 4 flowers or 2 bees and 2 flowers, but be that as it may, no pun intended. I love what we see here, and that it's making room for the partnership in the center. Okay, I'm going to go a little faster with the rest here, but I'm absolutely loving it. 8 of Wands is great. Love the 10 of Wands too. Ooh, great choice, and yay for bringing back what I was talking about, the gecko. It's good to use some of the traditional symbols. I think this is great, folks. I'm going to keep saying that, but this is exciting, and I can't wait to use it in a new monthly reading. This is interesting. What I like about this 7 of Cups is you can get wrapped up in your thoughts, and definitely that's coming through. Maybe I'm resonating the most with this one so far of the 2 new tarot decks, because this is the first tarot deck that we looked at next to this. I like it because it's easier for me to see which suit we're in. It feels more like when you're in cups, you're in cups. When you're in wands, you're in wands. So they did a better job differentiating. Gosh, that's a great ace. Very cool for the 2 of Swords, Indecision. Beautiful 3 of Swords. Yeah, everything just enough. Zoomed in a little bit. So what happens sometimes in the 4 of Swords is putting a thought to rest. I'm getting so much just by looking at this. That's a very interesting choice here for like the Mummy. Yep, this is a 11 out of 10 for surprising reasons. Simplicity, pops of color, being just close enough to the traditional. Look at that, Seven of Pentacles, growth. You can really see the growth in this particular illustration. Gosh, this is great. Yep, this is how you do it. If you're going to, oh, they put a bonus in here, the Travelers. So if you're going to innovate in the illustrations, you need to make it very easy for me as a reader to see which suit I'm in without doing a lot of work. You need to also really make sure that it's easy enough to identify what the origin of the card was, so that I know it's a reinterpreted version, but there's still something there that reads true. So here we still have the elements that you would see in the traditional world card. We still have the figure at the center, but it's just enough. Now, I love this, and it is the cards where they decided to go in a different direction. It's just really exciting to see the choices. Overall, I think this is great. I see myself using it a lot. I think that the overall packaging is gorgeous. The only thing that differentiates these two is maybe the addition of the protector here. But if you're like me, you have a few of those laying around, so that's okay. Highly recommend this one. I think it's really beautiful, and they made wise choices in how to interpret and bring this to life. So 11 out of 10. All right, let's go to the last two here. Field Tarot is one of my favorites. It reminds me a little bit, for those of you that like working with there's another kind of minimalist deck that I'll think of in a second here. Not the Field, but there's another one. We're not going to worry about it. I'm going to focus on this one at hand. Okay, so the Field Tarot has a lot of these sort of flat, it's almost like a mix of 2D and 3D illustrations, and so this is doing the same, and what we're doing here is working with the animals, which I love. Already I can tell this is going to be something I put in rapid rotation. Like, I can't wait for this weekend. We're going to use all of these on the weekly collective. All right. So yes. Okay, here's what I love. Now, this is interesting. I think they've chosen to do 3 on each of these. So let's see how they're connected. So the ant, unity, teamwork, and burden. Like sharing the burden, you don't have to do it all alone. Teamwork and unity are a part of this. Okay, so we have armadillo here, defense, boundaries, detachment. This is great as a reader because depending on what the cards show, we could see how these are all connecting. The bear, protection, courage, rest, because they hibernate. Courage, because they'll stand up for one another, and protection, because you really don't want to get on their bad side. Camel, travel, stamina, service. Okay, so this is great. I can do a lot with this. I like that there are a few words. I can go to whichever one I want. Beautiful chameleon. Much in the same way that I like the Curious, what was this called? The Curious Travels Tarot deck. I like this sort of illustration style. It's just enough. You're not getting lost in too many details. That's the title one here. So gorgeous. So the one wish that I always had when I was using the Field deck was some of the minor arcana don't have as many illustrations, or there's just little subtle things. So now we get a lot more. So when I'm using the Field deck, I'll make sure that I'm using this to kind of add color. If I needed some clarification, I could pull this Oracle card to complement it. Yeah, it's amazing. This is another 10 out of 10. For all the right reasons here. Again, it's just enough. Immediately recognizes a sloth, and then I love that we have the helper words at the bottom, but they're not overwhelming. So I'll bring a couple of these to the main camera because, again, it's a little bit better quality. So you can see the cardstock is great. I'll pull a single card up. This one is going to shuffle really nicely. It's not going to bend that easily. I mean, with all the Oracle cards that I'm looking at today, you don't want to go crazy in the shuffling. These are definitely not all the same quality as, like the Wild Unknown has a really thick cardstock. These are not as thick, but they're going to stand up to the test of time if you're kind to them. I watch some people that shuffle and they're crazy. I don't think any of these should be shuffled like that. Be kind to your decks. But overall, this is great. Exactly what I would expect. it marries up nicely with the field tarot, and I think that they did a great job of putting enough in there without overwhelming the reader. Let's look at the book real quick. This is more of a traditional little white book. It does not have illustrations, which was a curious choice. I'm going to forgive them because the illustrations are so great here. And it probably costs a lot to have to print both of them. So this is great. You don't really need the book because the words are here. So if you need to go back and forth, you can. But overall, 10 out of 10 on this one as well. Looking gorgeous. All right, we're to our last one here, Pathwork Oracle. And I think this one might be, I'm not sure if this one's brand new too. Some of these, there were a couple of them that were older and there were a couple that were newer. So when I provide the links before you can do the research on the site, I just wanted to do an unboxing without knowing too much. That was part of this as well. Okay. So it says, discover the magic of Pathwork. I said patchwork, Pathwork. Your personal gateway to spiritual awakening and heart-minding harmony. This beautiful deck, infused with the wisdom of green Tara and diverse traditions, including mudras, invites you in a transformative journey of self-discovery. I'm just going to read the first line or two on all of these because we're keeping it quick and simple on this, just getting initial reactions. So same sort of comment on this, which is it may be a little bit more difficult if you read reversals, since you can see that it's upright. Let me take a look really quickly on the field tarot one too. This one's going to be perfect because you can't tell if it's upright or reversed. I kind of prefer that on decks. I think it's better to keep the, have sort of a flipped image so that you can't tell what you're looking at that way. Quickly looking at the book here, they did a good job. You're going to have a little preview of the card with just enough of a description. And the quality is nice on all of this. Okay, let's see what the cards look like. Okay, a little bit more. I think this is exactly my limit when it comes to what I'm reading because I don't want to go into, you can see it even there. No one wants to read through all of this. So when you're reading, it should be a quick image and a couple words. I'll look at all of this later, but for now, I'm not, like I said, I wanted to keep this under half an hour if possible. Okay, loving kindness for self, may I be filled with peace. So they've given you a little mantra to help you out. I love the imagery here. Loving kindness for loved ones, may you be filled with peace. This is probably the hardest for many of us. Loving kindness for difficult people, may you be filled with peace. So a lot of loving kindness, which is fine. I think I'm just making sure that there's different. So there's series of things like compassion, sympathy, breath. Okay, so there's going to be like connected threads in here, which I like as well. The illustrations are great. Like this is something that holds up from a distance too. I think that's a great test. And just enough detail that it did a good job on the iris of the eye there as well. This one is great. Compassion for difficult people. May you be free from suffering. Amen to that. And that is a way that sometimes you can have that compassion, is realizing that they would only be difficult maybe if they were going through something difficult themselves. So what I like about this is I love how dreamy the images are. I love that it gives you a mantra to help you out. There is a lot of overlap, like a lot of energy. There's 3 or 4 cards with the same sort of themes. So if you're looking for those themes, that's great. If not, it might become a little repetitive. But I can see this going really nicely in one of my readings where I'm just pulling a single card. If you're doing a spread and using this as your main go-to, you'll want to mix and mingle a little bit. Overall, I quite like this one. Not as strong as some of the Oracle decks that we just saw today. So maybe I would give this one like an 8, 7 out of 10 actually. I'm going to be a little more critical on this just because there's a lot of similar themes here. But I get what the artist is going after. These are all still great, and I will still use this. But I think this would just be maybe as a health card or a love card, because these are healthy habits to have, like love and forgiveness and sympathy, and it would really work well with relationships too, as I'm looking at like the ethics card here. So figuring out how to find your way in those areas. So I think as a single card in a larger spread, it's perfect. So to summarize, I think this is the standout here. I love the Curious Travels Tarot deck. I think that this is friendly for all levels of reader, definitely intermediate and advanced, but even beginners, maybe after you've had a little bit of time working with something like Radiant Rider-Waite-Smith, you could graduate onto something like this. This was gorgeous. Like, you can just see how lovely the illustrations are here. I think that both of these, I just can't wait to use them. I had already used the tarot deck versions of all of these, and I was not let down by any of them. They are perfect complements to the tarot decks of the same name. And even though that this is Lenormand, you can use it if you want to as an oracle, because the illustrations are just really rich. And I actually kind of like it maybe better than the indie version because it's not too glossy, and it kind of it looks great. This one I had no familiarity with before. I like it. The only thing that I would say as a wish list item would be maybe to have two butterflies looking at each other so you don't know if it's reversed. But other than that, all of these are great. This one I think is very specialized, and it would really suit those of you that read for, like if you help people through emotional challenges or relationship challenges, this is great. In my own spread, I might put it in either health or relationships. And finally, as I said, for this one, I will probably use this as a single card pull for my daily readings as well. All right, folks, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this. Before we wrap up, let's check in on Apollo. Hey, buddy. He always magically knows when I'm going to turn the camera down. And he's like, I've got things to do. There we go. But he did say hello there just for a second. Before we move on, if you enjoyed this, make sure that you're following me on social media. That way, when I post a video, you'll never miss it. Of course, like and subscribe, and let me know which, again, of these decks you enjoyed the most today, what types of videos you'd like me to do in the future. And if you want to become a member, you can do that by hitting the join button below. As I said today, there's some special perks for members. So thanks for all of you for supporting me. Videos like this are made possible by you. And also, again, thanks to US Games for sending me these for consideration. I appreciate it. And that's everything for today. Wishing you all the best. Thank you so much for your love, support, and for allowing me to try a different type of video today. I hope you enjoy it. See you soon. Take care.